Welcome to My Worst Date. I'm Cassie.
I'm Keegan.
Oh my God.
Are you sure?
No, oh my God. Like, Jesus. This is what happens whenever you don't talk to people enough throughout the week. You know, it's just like, it's like I'm like knocking the cobwebs off of my vocal cords. Jesus Christ. I'm Keegan.
I'm
case
Christina.
You couldn't hear that.
Oh my God.
I'm Keegan.
Oh my God. Amazing. I love you guys
like,
so much.
That doesn't sound like her. What did they do to Keegan? It's going to start like a whole new series of like conspiracy theories.
You know what? I would love that.
That's not Keegan. That's not Keegan.
Someone put me at the center of an Avril Lavigne-esque conspiracy theory. I'm into that idea.
The internet, if you ask, it will deliver, because this week for me has been peak internet. Peak internet. We've had couches.
Yeah. The Kamala TikToks. Sending me into the stratosphere. Incredible.
So good.
The cat memes.
Yes. Well,
the cat lady memes.
Dude, when I first saw that JD Vance quote where he was talking about childless cat ladies, I felt like that clip from Euphoria where they're like, is this fucking play about us? Like, I was like, how fucking dare he? Like, as a child-free cat person myself.
well, it's just, it's really, you know, I feel like they're saying the quiet part out loud now, that the only useful thing a woman can do is procreate. And of course, like in the year of our Lord Beyonce 2024, this is not the way.
No,
we're so tired, so tired of this. The thousands, hundreds of thousands of people that have mobilized this week on Zoom calls and everything like that has just been. I don't know what is this hope? Is this optimism?
Is this what that feels like? Wow.
I do feel optimistic.
I do too.
And I feel like
cautiously.
people are coming out of the woodwork. Like people are like, okay, now we have a real fighting chance. Like I feel like people overall, not just us, people overall are feeling.
Yeah, you know, the
either
tone,
scared or optimistic.
Yeah, the tone of this episode compared to last week's, because I was thinking about that because we recorded last week's, I think, before Biden dropped out. So
the day before.
So the vibes are very different, you know, between last week and this week. And I'm grateful for that. I truly, truly am, because I was feeling pretty hopeless about that situation. Yeah.
No, it's so much better. And yeah, I've spent a lot of time on TikTok this week, not doom scrolling, but celebrating whoever is running Kamala HQ. Oh my God. All the money, all the accolades.
It's a feminine phenomenon.
That's right. That's right.
It's weird because there was a night that I was like, man, this was the same feeling of hope I felt. I mean, you know, that night that we were all so certain that it was going to be Hillary. And I'm like, I don't want to be disappointed, but I can't stop myself from feeling that general feeling of hope. You know, I
feel hopeful too. It's a cautious optimism on my part, because fool me once. Okay. I'm not trying to cry in the bathtub again like I did on election night 2016. Okay.
Yeah.
Everybody knows I'm the Labrador retriever in this group. So my tail's been wagging the whole time. Like, what's it going to be? Yeah.
The other thing I wanted to talk to you guys about, and Cass, I know you said you didn't see this, but there's a TikTok account called Ballerina Farm. And it's basically this woman and her 8 children and her husband on a farm. And it's called Ballerina Farm because she like got accepted to Juilliard. She was a really great ballerina, but now she's like making kind of trad wife content, you know, aspirational, make your kids, you know, Coca-Cola from
every day,
scratch,
whatever. Content.
Yeah.
Woof.
And so
which again, like I want to preface this by saying, like, do whatever you want with your life.
Listen, right.
Right?
Ain't for me.
Like do whatever makes you happy. But I couldn't even really get into this woman's story because every time people started talking about it, it was making me sad. And I kept seeing like clips of her and like her relationship with her husband. And I was like, this is bumming me out because I feel like this woman had so much, you know, she got accepted to Juilliard as a ballerina. That's huge, you know, and so difficult
enormous,
to do.
yeah.
And like the way that I feel like her husband takes her for granted in just the few clips that I've seen. And she's got 8 fucking kids.
Well, get fucking ready.
Kids.
Get fucking ready for this, because I ended up going down the rabbit hole because I happened to just read the New York Times article that was written. So this woman, I'm sorry, I will put the name in the show notes. The author of the article went to the farm and interviewed Hannah is her name, and just basically the article goes into like how she's basically has 8 children hanging off of her, how she's not allowed to have a nanny or any like any help.
Not
with
allowed.
The kids.
Not allowed. Can you imagine?
That's it. That's the wording.
There was this part too where she's like had to have natural births, but one time like her husband wasn't there because he had to work on the farm or something like that. So she's like,
I'm sorry,
I got to have an epidural with that one. Like she kind of like
but
whispered,
it's a
sneaky little epidural. And the author writes that when her husband's with her, like she doesn't get to talk a lot, like he'll interrupt her or talk over her. So I was already kind of like furious about the article. I haven't had her come on my FYP, so I went down the rabbit hole and I'm watching videos of like, she's like, it's her birthday, right? She's had all these kids around her.
I'm going to be furious.
She's like, are these tickets to Greece?
That's the one I saw. One I saw.
And he's like, it's a fucking egg apron for the farm. And he goes, you're welcome, before she even says thank you. And I'm like, I went even further. Her name is not on anything. Ballerina Farm is registered to him. So her fucking TikTok, the one that is making like money, the farm, everything, her name is not on shit. Nothing. And listen, Keegan, I'm with you too in that.
Couldn't be me.
Literally, like, live your life, do whatever. Yeah. If you want to have 8 kids and make homemade granola and film it, and whatever, like,
if that's
good
what
on
brings
you.
you joy, amazing. But protect yourself. Protect yourself. You cannot trust these men out here in these streets or on these farms. Okay, you need to make sure that you have your own money. Like her TikTok channel could have been such a great way for her to have her own savings and her own bank account. No. Honestly, like,
and he knows that. That's why he won't let her have it.
Right.
And of course,
so much ick.
She's
gross.
A beautiful, blonde,
gorgeous,
talented ballerina whose dream was to live in New York and be a professional ballet. And I'm like,
she still got it too, because she's out there doing ballet on the farm, and you can like she's like, it's a beautiful dancer, and you know, it's just so sad to me. And if I would feel differently if I felt like, you know, she had a really like loving, healthy, supportive marriage, and that she was like living her dream. This was really what she wanted. And I think that's what she would say, but that's not how it appears at all. And to even put these like videos up on the internet, I'm like, what what did you think that everybody's reaction was going to be? I saw another, this is not Ballerina Farm, but I saw another TikTok that went viral. I mean, it would be funny if it wasn't actually kind of sad, but it was a woman who was like, and there's like, you know, sappy music playing, and she's reading her, like finding out she's pregnant, and her husband is standing next to her, and she's like losing her mind. She's crying. She's so happy. Literally nothing from him, like no emotion whatsoever. He pats her on the head at one point. No, I'm so serious. And I'm like, girl, what did you think? What is your life like on the daily with this person that you thought you could put this on the internet and people would respond positively to this?
Right.
Do you not see it? You don't
know.
see it.
I almost think, here's what I think. I think she sees it absolutely crystal clear.
She wants people.
She wants people to also be on her side so she can show that guy and be like, because he's probably gaslighting piece of shit. So she can be like, I'm not being gaslit. Look at these thousands of the people on the internet who agree with me that you're a piece of shit. So
wow.
Yeah, that's my biggest thing though about Ballerina Farm, and I guess why I wanted to bring it up is like, so I'm in a super happy marriage. I'm happy with Eric as my partner and everything. If you don't think I don't still have my own bank account and my own money, it like doesn't matter. My heart hurts the most for her in that all this content and money that she's bringing in, she doesn't have the right to a dime of it because her name's not on any of the LLCs or the paperwork. And it just, that to me, I hope that if you're a young woman and you find yourself like in some kind of situation, just like always try to have your own money. You know, it's your security, it's your way out if you need. It gives you strength and independence. Like you just can't.
And woman, you have 8 children. If he decided to just up and leave and take everything,
the fuck
he could. And what would you
do?
He can
do whatever he wants. Apparently,
you have no money of your own and 8 kids to take care of.
Yeah.
You know, like you got to look out for yourself. You really do. You know, live your life however you want to. But just make sure you have that safety net. I don't think there's anything wrong. A lot of people grow up wanting to be, you know, homemakers, wanting to be mothers and, you know, wanting that to be that's their calling that they feel like they have in their life. And I completely support that. But at the same time, you don't know what the future holds and you really can't I don't want to say you can't trust anybody, but you don't know what's going on in their head 24/7. You don't.
That's right.
So be careful.
Secure the bag. Well,
exactly. Collect them checks, put them in your bank account.
The other big news, Olympics started in Paris this
Oh my God.
week.
Did you watch the opening ceremony?
I didn't watch the whole thing, but I have watched people
I've seen clips.
commentating on it. Man, they went hard.
Of course.
Paris
metal
was extra.
band.
I was like,
listen,
Jesus
I'm not
Christ.
even mad.
You had Assassin's Creed with that fucking torch running all through.
The thing that's giving me life though is all the like Snoop Dogg. Snoop Dogg was like,
I love him so much.
Me too.
They were like, you know, who should represent the U.S. when it comes to the Olympics? Snoop Dogg.
And let's make this torch look like a giant joint. And
Love
he'll
it.
look the happiest he's ever looked in his life. His rebrand has to be like what, top 10 best rebrands of all time. Like
it's precious. I saw a picture of him with his son and his 2 granddaughters, and I'm like, just
Grandpa Snoop.
I love it. It's
love
great.
that.
Pop Snoop. I love it.
So good. So good.
God.
Well, we also had Beyonce. Did you see Beyonce like introing Team USA?
Yes, I did.
I didn't see that.
And I saw Gaga. Gaga performed.
Oh, I also heard Celine Dion perform.
Oh my God, I cried. Oh, I cried.
Somebody was like, she saved the opening ceremonies because otherwise it was garbage. I was like, wow.
I wouldn't say the opening ceremony was garbage. I would say it was extra. I would say it was a lot. It was a lot coming at me, you know.
Yeah. No. So I was thinking in honor of the Olympics, we should fuck, marry, kill hot Olympians.
Okay. You know what? In honor of hot Rat Boy Summer and the fact that like he had a video that went viral this year because there was that Australian swimmer who was basically like, ugh, I hate the US. I'm so happy I don't have to hear the Star Spangled Banner. I'm going to go with Michael Phelps. I don't particularly think he's like, you know, like hot, but there's something about his personality that I like. And he is, you know, a goat. So I'm going to go Michael Phelps.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
You know what? Is he in the Olympics this year?
Not this year.
I was going to say, I didn't think so. I'm gonna go Simone Biles.
Yeah.
Speaking of absolute goats,
I think
I want to see them stand next to each other. He's really tall and she's teeny tiny.
she's so small.
Okay, so I think I'm gonna go with LeBron. LeBron is in the Olympics this year.
There we go.
Oh, I love that. Oh, should I pick someone from the Olympics this year?
No, I don't think you have to.
All right.
No.
Okay. Ooh.
This is tough.
Shit, this is hard. I need a second, I think, to think this through.
I think I know what I'm gonna do.
Okay,
I think I'm gonna
lead the
marry
pack.
Simone Biles. I think I'm gonna marry Simone Biles only because
You'd be an improvement.
First of over my husband?
Oh, no, over hers.
Over her husband.
Oh,
Jesus.
Is he starting to act right now?
No.
Is he starting to act right now
I would
after
hope
that
so.
fiasco?
I would hope
he
so.
needs to. He needs to. At whatever his name is, exactly. Simone Biles' husband.
Exactly.
Yeah. No. I was like, wow, Chris is going to be so upset.
I would never. Can you
Really
imagine?
aggressive. No, Simone is fucking powerhouse and a badass bitch. Like, I'm so team Simone. Like, and then, I'm gonna fuck Michael Phelps only because he's got that lean, tall swimmer body thing.
I'm curious. I am curious.
I'm curious. He seems also kind of quiet, like but like secretly like super funny.
I'm sure he's pretty chill. I mean, and we know he smokes pot, so
It's true. There you go. And then I'm gonna friend LeBron because he's been married for a long time to the same person. I'm not ready.
You just don't want to
ruin
get
that
in there.
happy
You
home.
don't want to.
Yeah, I'm not trying to
get
ruin
it.
that happy home.
I get it. Oh man. Full disclosure, I did look up their zodiac signs, and that will be influencing my my response.
cheater.
Sorry, because I was gonna do something different. I actually was gonna do something different.
Okay, don't
But-
tell me because I have not, and so tell it after I
Yeah,
do
tell us
my
after.
my picks.
Okay, do you want to go first and have me go last?
Yeah. Sure.
Yeah.
Okay, you go first.
I am going to fuck Michael Phelps as well. Actually, no, I'm going to marry him. I'm going to marry Michael Phelps.
Okay.
Going bold, going strong. I
think
like this.
He's chill. I definitely want to climb that beanstalk.
Right, I know.
He does seem funny.
Mount Phelps.
He does seem really nice. And for me, I really love and admire Simone Biles, but somebody that driven, I think, could be really difficult because I am incredibly lazy. So I would
think you're
feel
the opposite
Christina.
of that.
I would.
Are you kidding?
I would feel like such an underperformer. It's bringing out a lot of insecurities. So God bless her. I want to friend her, but then I am going to fuck LeBron.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that. Good choices. Good choices.
Yeah.
Okay, I am going to marry LeBron James.
Okay.
Okay.
He's
LeBron
really solid.
James.
This is not what I was going to do. I was going to do exactly what Christina did. However, Michael Phelps is a Cancer.
Oh.
And but I do feel like Michael Phelps. But I do feel like Michael
Emotional
Phelps
damage.
is, right, a Pisces and a Cancer. I don't know. I don't know
So much.
But he seems really like, honestly, his personality in interviews and stuff I'm very drawn to because he seems laid back enough, and he seems funny enough, and he doesn't take himself too seriously. But when it's on, it's on. Like you can tell when Michael Phelps is like in the zone, ready to like fuck you up, right? So I love that. So I'm gonna fuck Michael Phelps. Same thing, gonna ride that ride. LeBron James is a Capricorn. I feel like LeBron is going to keep me on that straight and narrow path. Okay, he's going to keep me locked down to earth.
Damn it, I should have married him.
I appreciate that about LeBron. Simone is a Pisces. And I have had very good luck with Pisces women as my friends. So
Yes, friends, exactly.
so her and I we're gonna be buddies.
Nice. Oh man. Two Pisces.
Interesting.
Yeah, that is interesting.
It's a lot. I've done that. I've been down that road before. I mean, Pisces women are different than Pisces men, but
so different.
very different.
Dude,
but still.
Very different.
I also don't know if you guys' FYP is similar to mine in that I have been getting so many astrologers breaking down like Kamala's chart, Trump's chart, all of that stuff, making predictions.
I haven't, but I would love to know.
Because actually, like last Thursday or so, like someone was like, "Yeah, Biden's chart, he's going to drop out on the 21st because of his like."
A lot of people were saying that because of the blue moon in Capricorn. There were 2 blue moons in Capricorn. In the same sign, which is very rare in astrology. And it was like, they were like, so breaking down kind of like Biden dropping out in conjunction with that. And I was like, oh, that's fascinating.
Yeah. That's
wild.
Yeah. So, hopefully we do have the Simpsons prediction that Kamala's going to win. So fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed. Fingers crossed. We do have a new patron. So I want to give a shout out to Lisa Weimer. Lisa, thank you so much for joining us on Patreon. Woo-woo. I love it when it shows us like, they're
pound.
Yeah, a pound. So I'm like, ooh, where are you from, girl?
Well, a pound would be UK.
Well, yeah, I assume it's the UK. Yes.
Yeah.
We're so excited to have you over on our Patreon. Thank you so much for being a patron. It actually means so much to us. It really does keep us going and allows us to do what we do. So thank you so much. And we will get your rewards out to you as soon as possible.
Awesome. Yeah. Well, you guys want to take 5 and then we'll come back with stories?
Sounds good.
And we're back. All right, Christina, kick us off with stories.
All right. Awesome. I have got a listener story. The subject is racism and Lara Croft go together like fish and chips. So,
oh, do they? I wasn't aware.
Wow.
Believe it's sarcasm. So,
okay.
Okay. They say, "Hey girlies, first things first, I love your podcast." Oh, thank you. Y'all have kept me company on many late night walks and drunk Uber rides. To start off, I'm Sudanese, Northeast African, and my friend sets me up for a blind date with someone British. Sure, I'm desperate enough for any action that I'm willing to turn a blind eye to my people's history of violence and ethnic cleansing. Oh no.
Oh no.
Oh my God. Like, hey,
I was like, where is she going with this?
Her ancestors are rolling in their graves.
Hey, colonizer.
Oh my God.
Oh my God. We agreed to meet at a cafe. I walk in and there he was in a full suit. Is this another scramble for Africa? Am I about to be talked into selling my land to a British investor for £3? Who knows? But at this point, I'm intrigued.
Oh my God. There's so much to unpack here.
I love it.
I love it. I sit down as I'm taking off my jacket, I hear, "So you don't look Arab. Our mutual friend told me you were Arab. What in the global South identity crisis is going on here?" I think to myself before looking up at him and seeing a look of betrayal on his face.
I'm sorry. If that's the first thing you're saying to me when whatever happened to hi, how are you? You know what I mean? Like if that's the first thing that you're saying to me when I walk in the door,
turn around.
I got to turn around and walk right back out.
It's a U-turn for me. Ugh. Yeah, exactly. They say, "My last name is Ahmed and I speak Arabic, but I'm not Arab, I'm African," I respond, while the voice in my head urged me to put my jacket back on and leave.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. He asks where I'm from and I tell him Sudan, to which he responds, "Wait, is that the country with the pyramids? Whoa,
oh
nice."
My God. Oh, no. Jesus. Like just basic education fail there.
No.
How do you not, like, I feel like Egypt is one of the most universally recognizable places on the planet. Like,
I mean, and there's other African,
oh God. Close enough. He's only off by 960 miles.
Close enough.
That's Egypt, actually.
Wow.
Sudan is the southern border of Egypt, I say in my most non-threatening tone as I fight off the spirits of my angry ancestors watching me on this date. You should change your last name. Ahmed gave me the impression that I'll be meeting a Middle Eastern, not an African. Why do you have an Arab name anyways? He says
you should change your last name.
So that he feels better about dating
Oh my God.
someone.
Wow.
Also,
Okay.
like that just screams fetishization of Arab women as
That's
well.
exactly
so it's
right.
shitty on like every level.
It's
gross.
So gross. Ladies, I'm very good at choosing my battles and can usually distinguish a violent racist from a stupid and entertaining one, so I chose to stick around for the plot. Can I tell you a secret? I say as I'm preparing to bullshit my way into a devastating, funny conversation. It's not my real name. My real last name is Kokanoka, actually. I changed it to Ahmed so I can get this post-grad scholarship I'm on, which was only for Arabs. He looks at me like he'd just seen a ghost and said, "That's fucked, yo." At this point, I just burst out laughing and get the whole cafe staring at us. And when I say burst, I don't mean giggle quietly. I was laughing, clapping my hands, slamming the table, coughing, eyes watering. He seems entertained by this and wears a big dumb smile for some reason. We changed the subject and continued chatting. It wasn't terrible, to be honest. So 2 hours in, he asks if I want to go back to his place where he had a sweet bottle of wine he wants us to share. Free food and free drinks? I couldn't agree faster. Now, picture this. It's 9:35 p.m. You're walking out of an elevator and into this man's apartment. You feel safe because you live in Qatar where the crime rate is literally 1% and know the worst thing that could happen is this guy's geopolitical takes aren't as funny as you thought and you end up leaving. Wrong. He opens the door to his apartment and your eyes land on an enormous, huge Lara Croft poster. This thing is so...
I'm so confused by this person. You showed up to a cafe in a full suit, but you have a giant Lara Croft poster as your main like decoration in your living room. Those two things don't compute to me.
It really doesn't.
It's not coming together.
It's not. I'm like, who is this person? And he also thinks that the pyramids are in Sudan.
Well, yeah.
Yeah. Who is this guy? The thing is so huge, it covers 70% of the wall, and it isn't one of the sexy types, too. It's an up close, 2/3 of the poster is just her face. Angelina Jolie's eyes are the size of my head, and she's staring into my soul as I take my shoes off.
No, why? What is happening?
It's giving. You guys remember I told you the story of my first boyfriend had that huge picture of Ashley Judd on the wall. It just reminds me so much of this, where you're like, well, this is awkward.
But this is like, where did he even get that?
I know,
right?
You know?
Did he like climb up a
like a billboard?
a billboard? Yeah.
Oh my God. He doesn't address it. And I don't know that I should either. By naming the thing.
I would immediately. Like,
I need to know. I need to know.
I would have to, because I'm just like, you obviously, this is the first thing you want people to see when they walk into your place. So I would have to be like, what's the deal with that? What's that?
The way
What's going on here?
I couldn't just be like, holy Laura Croft, like immediately as soon as I walked in the door. I would be like, what the fuck?
Why? Why are you doing that, man?
Why?
By naming the thing, you give it power. Classic Voldemort and Beetlejuice scenarios. A few
I love her. I love her writing.
So good, so funny. A few drinks in, and we're trying to have a conversation, but everything is wrong. Normal me clocks out, and Mrs. Paranoia clocks in. Up is down is up. The couch smells like vomit with a side of cat pee, and Miss Angelina and I are still locked in. I stop mid-conversation and tell him I should be going home. He tries to talk me into staying longer, but I wasn't going to spend another second in the same space with that demonic possessed poster, so I bounce. He tried to contact me a few more times, but I never responded. I should have left when I saw that suit, James Bond ass bitch.
Oh my God.
You know, I gotta hand it to people who are willing to just do it for the plot. You know,
Just
see what
I
happens.
gotta know.
You know,
I gotta know.
Honestly,
Good grief.
you go through like phases and stuff like that. There were definitely a few dates where I was just like, you know, whatever. And you stick around when you should have just been like, you know what? My peace and my time are worth more than this maybe funny story. But yeah. Oh, thank you so much for writing in. That's fucking hysterical.
Wow. Okay, I'll go next. This one says, my very worst date of my life went like this. I met a guy online in a local chat room. He was a few years older than me. I was 16 and he was 18. We talked for months as friends, exchanged pictures, and talked about life. Then one day, that sounds so reminiscent of like the early 2000s, like 16 in the early 2000s.
All I hear now is like that Tracy Chapman song. You got a fast car. Take it nowhere.
Totally.
I love that song. Then one day he asked me to go on a date with him. I said sure, and it went downhill from there. I lived in the country, and trying to give people directions could be hard because half of the roadsides had been stolen, and there were very few landmarks to reference. Turn left by the blue house with a big tree.
Totally.
As someone who grew up in a rural place,
Same.
like 100%. I went to my friend Sienna, who I know listens. I went to a party like out where she lives ish whenever I was in Missouri this last time. And I forgot what it was like driving on back roads because it was like second nature at one point. And then I left the party at like 11 and it was nighttime. And I was like, oh, this is terrifying.
20 miles an hour.
Yeah, it's like
10.
all windy. There's no lights out there. It's like, God forbid, if I didn't have like a GPS, like God forbid, I'd get lost out there. Okay. Basically trying to get him to my house was a nightmare. This was in early 2000s. So while cell phones were starting to become more common, you didn't get service where I lived unless you climbed a tree. He finally got to my house and proceeded to bitch at me because I gave him bad directions and because I lived out in the middle of nowhere. I'm sorry, I'm 16. I don't really have control over where. Talk to my parents.
I don't know what to tell you. I gave you 16-year-old directions.
That's right.
Dude, yeah.
You're
As soon as a guy like tells me like, oh, go east on this street, I'm like, well,
absolutely never use cardinal directions with me ever.
I am out.
Ever.
I
don't know what you're talking about. That should have been
compass on my.
I literally have done that before. I've pulled my compass like on my phone out because I'm like, east where? I don't understand. Okay. That should have been my first red flag, but I gave him the benefit of the doubt because I understand it can be frustrating. Then he proceeded to stand in my kitchen telling my dad what a great catch he was. Before everyone jumps to conclusions, it is absolutely normal for a young boy to be nervous when meeting a father. It is normal for them to want to make a good impression, for them to outline why they are a good guy and make promises to care for the daughter. That is not what he was doing. He was bragging about himself. He was bragging about his car and even said something along the lines of my dad being lucky his daughter found such a good-looking guy.
My dad would be like, you know what? Actually, she's not allowed to go.
Yeah, you're not taking her anywhere.
No.
My dad looked at me with a look that could only say, is this guy kidding? So we get in the car and he tells me he thought we could go to a movie. Without asking what I wanted to go see, he picked out the movie that he wanted to go to. I'm not against a girl paying for herself at all, but when we got to the counter, he bought one ticket and snacks for himself and then moved aside to let me buy my own ticket. Again, that's fine, but if someone asks you out, they should pay. Not because the man should pay for the woman, but because they asked you on a date. If I asked someone on a date, I would fully expect to pay for them because that is implied when I ask them on a date with me. I think that's a great rule.
Yep.
Yeah, I think it's solid. Unless specifically like said beforehand.
Unless it's been, I bought my ticket, but didn't get snacks because I thought he already had. I thought wrong. Those were his snacks, not mine. I could get my own if I wanted them. I sat through a movie I didn't even care to see with a boy who wouldn't share his snacks, but who kept trying to get me to make out with him.
Oh, fuck you. No. I can't get popcorn. You can't get pussy. There you go.
Yes, exactly. We had planned to go out to eat after the movie, but once we left, he said he didn't really want anything to eat. This is the most selfish motherfucker on the planet.
Yeah.
I want to go see the movie that
dude?
I want to go see. I don't want to eat anymore because I'm probably full of Sour Patch Kids. You know, like.
Truly.
That was okay with me, and I assumed he probably just didn't have enough money, or maybe he was also starting to realize what a train wreck this date was. Either way, I assumed he would take me home. I assumed wrong. He ended up driving to a parking lot of a store that was being built. It was tucked back way out of the way, and the lot was empty. He reclined his seat and told me he needed to nap for a while before taking me home.
Oh my God.
Nap? What? So what am I supposed to do? Except he didn't want to nap. He truly thought that after yelling at me for my directional skills, bragging about what a catch he was to my father, not sharing his snacks in the theater, not following through with the second part of the date, that I was going to jump over and have sex with him.
Oh.
Dude. Jesus, what a piece of shit.
I told him I would like to go home. He said that was fine, but it would take a while because he was going to nap. He kept begging for a kiss or other favors. I told him I was uncomfortable. I quickly realized I was in an abandoned parking lot, and even though there were hundreds of people around, they were not close enough to hear me if I needed help. I was alone.
That's so scary.
16.
Wow. What a psychopath.
Mm-hmm. And this makes me so sad, this next part. Oh. So I started kissing him and then told him I had to pee really bad. His car was his prized possession. God forbid I peed in it, so we drove to a gas station. I got out of the car and never got back in. I told him my dad was coming to get me and to go home. He asked when we would like to go out again. Actually, he said, so when would you like to finish what we just started?
No, never. Fucking what? Get a grip. What the
so
fuck,
gross,
dude?
You know, and this feels like someone who is processing their trauma, because the very last sentence here or two sentences is, I don't hold it against him. Young boys are socially awkward and driven by hormones, but we never went on another date. Girl, 18 is old enough not to have treated you that way. No. And also that whole second part of the date was sexual assault.
Yeah.
Like
absolutely.
it was 100% coercion. Ugh. He put you in a really uncomfortable position where you ended up doing things you didn't want to do because you were scared in that situation. And that isn't okay. And we got to teach all of our young people, but we got to teach our boys better than that.
Yep.
Sorry.
Yep.
Sick.
God.
Oh, what a piece of shit.
Mm-hmm.
I always hope
wasn't fun.
I always hope that that guys like that have done things like that, like grow up and
look back on them,
just in the middle of the night one night, wake up and know in their hearts like what they did is wrong. I always have that hope,
same.
You know?
Yeah. Well, and I think for some of them that is probably true. I mean, we're talking about the early 2000s, and, you know, not to make excuses, but that kind of thing was so normalized. I would hope that at the age that they are now, because they're probably a little bit older than me, so they're probably in their late 30s at this time. Like, I would hope that with everything that we know now and where we've come as a society and as a culture, that they are ashamed of the fact that they put this girl in that situation. Yeah. Because how many of us have been in similar situations? I think most women have been in situations like that, where you're having to do like mental calculus of like how to get out of a situation that you've been put in by someone. Right.
Without
and it's very scary.
Them off,
But kudos to her for managing to get to a gas station, and kudos to her dad, you know, that she was able to have a dad that she could call who would come pick her up.
Well, dude. Yeah. And oh my God, I can't even imagine what my dad would have done to that kid if he had to come and pick me up from a gas station. Oh my God. Yeah.
Yeah, you don't want to go on a second date, sir. You don't want that.
No. But you should come over to my house.
My dad would like to have a word.
Yeah. Come on over. My dad would love to have a conversation with you. Well, my story is wild. Buckle up. So, and takes place right around the same time yours does. Ooh. So we got a couple of these aughts stories going here. Many years ago, a bit over 2 decades, my mother seemed to be getting nuttier about the idea of me marrying and her being the one to magically find him. I had a very...
All right, Mom. Get a hobby. Get a hobby that's not me, please.
Exactly. I had a very active dating life, just not who she'd prefer. My response ranged between being very irritated to slightly annoyed to being amused by some of her choices. 5 different, quite obviously gay men introduced, including 2 different men in committed relationships with a partner who were very lovely about settling, or a guy who was wildly the antithesis of anything resembling anyone I would date.
Mom,
one night,
what are you doing? She's like, you will break up this home.
You're cute. That's what she's thinking. One night, she was out with a family friend, Jane, and the 2 got a bit tipsy while waiting for respective husbands at the restaurant. My mother barely ever had anything past a glass of wine at Christmas and a glass of champagne on New Year's. So 3 glasses of Merlot with ice and lemon, of course, and a margarita.
Hold the phone, first of all. I've never heard of that in my life. Merlot with ice and lemon?
And a lemon.
I
have a lot of questions.
Anyway,
it's giving...
And a margarita.
It's giving Franzia Chalable. Chalable red. Chalable.
The only thing that would be better is if it was a boxed Merlot. That would be incredible.
They're at a restaurant. Can you imagine the bartender had to fucking put ice and a fucking lemon on fucking Merlot? Oh no. He's like, do we have any old just... that nobody else will drink?
Yeah. Do we have one that's been open for a while? We can use that.
It's vinegar. It's just vinegar with a lime or lemon and ice cubes.
Oh my God.
Anyway, 3 glasses of Merlot and a margarita were way beyond her tolerance. When my stepfather, Bob, and another family friend, the husband of the mom's wine and margarita buddy, arrived at the restaurant, the 2 had already decided that I should date their server, John Smith. I was...
Okay.
Obviously, these are all fake names.
Oh my God.
I was completely unaware of the entire situation and answered the phone to hear my mother slurring and talking to Jade and the both giggling while forcing me on the phone with John, while Bob told them not to give out their daughter's number without permission. Thank you, Bob.
Bob, of sound mind.
Exactly. On the phone with John, I apologized for the drunk crazy ladies, and he gave me his number since Bob, thankfully, stopped them from giving out mine. By description, I knew he already wasn't my type. Gym rat with big muscles, crew cut, big into guns and hunting. I'm a vegetarian. Oh. And he referred to me as, quote, a pretty little girl.
Oh.
Red flag number 1.
Oh, yeah. No.
I called immediately after and left him a voicemail message to thank him for being a good sport and wishing him well, and went out with friends. Later that night, I received a call from an unfamiliar number. It was John. He had star 69'd me and used his home phone to call.
Oh God. Star
the
69.
odds were wild, man.
Star 69.
We chatted for a bit and he said he'd like to take me out. I declined, but he eventually convinced me while we laughed about the situation. He wanted to meet at the same restaurant where he worked at and set a time very early so it wouldn't be dark and I could have 8,000 excuses for ducking out.
I have a question.
When I arrived,
Christina, you worked at a restaurant for a long time. Would you ever take your date to the restaurant that you worked at?
Absolutely not.
Never.
No.
Right.
Never.
Like, that feels weird to me. Like, I wouldn't want to do that. That feels like so much pressure. Also, I mean, it's pressure for you because you have all of your coworkers like peeking
Exactly.
in. And also, it's not fair to the other person because it is kind of like
weird.
home turf.
Right.
Yes.
I also,
Yeah.
I also never liked it. I was somebody that also didn't like it when people I knew came in to the restaurant. I was just like, this is the secret thing I do for money.
This is my own private thing.
I used to come into your restaurant all the time.
No,
so
it's fine.
sorry.
No.
When I arrived and was greeted by the hostess, I said I was meeting someone, and to her giggles, she said my name and began to lead me to where he sat.
Ugh.
All the other workers were popping out their heads around the corners, and most would come up grinning and shaking my hand and fawning over me. Ooh,
What is happening?
So
Ew.
awkward.
You know, and I feel like he probably chose this because this all went down at his restaurant, right? Like mom and friend were, so probably all these people had heard about this already. And so it was a thing. It was like, oh, she's coming in. The daughter of the women who were here last week, you know.
That's exactly right.
Gross.
Wild. All alarms are going off. As I sit, every worker in the restaurant is coming up, shaking my hand, and then returning to all of them, peering around the corners and doors. The manager came over, insisting on being our server. At that age, I was still too much of a people pleaser to just leave. And I figured I could survive a date and never see him again. So I'm counting down in my head. Get drinks, 4 minutes to arrive, 2 minutes to order, 20 minutes to arrive. Eat lightly for about 15 minutes, 5 minutes to let him continue to eat, no dessert, have an emergency, insist on splitting the bill, out in 10. So just about an hour.
There you go.
Well, you know, you can survive anything for an hour. That's what I tell myself whenever I go to work out. Anything is survivable for an hour. Okay.
Well, you give yourself a lot more time than I do. I'm like, it's 1 minute. You can do anything for 1 minute.
Yeah. Yeah, 1 minute. That's probably mine too. None went to plan. When I ordered a glass of wine, he declined and said that he didn't drink. The manager brought out champagne and insisted that we toast. And while John drank water, I downed 2 glasses of champagne.
What do they think this is? Do they think this is a proposal? Like, how weird.
Yeah.
It's the weirdest thing
Why is
ever.
your manager this invested?
Why is everybody at work so invested? I have a lot of questions. I feel like something is going on that I'm not privy to. I was just trying my best to be polite and ask him about his day and hobbies, and he shushes me to ask me what if I have a favorite place. The wine arrives, and I order immediately, still counting down the time, and I answer about a particular temple in Oahu, in the Valley of Temples, to which he responds, I've always wanted to take my future wife to an island for our honeymoon. I gulped down the wine with many faces still watching around walls and doorways, and the wine is immediately refilled.
I just put myself in this situation and immediate the way I'd be sweating, you know, like you're just like, oh, no. How am I going to get out of this?
Yeah.
Food should be here within 10 minutes. I ask if he has a favorite place, and he says, I only want to go where my future wife does, and attempts to take my hand across the table. I hear gasps from the doorway and jerk my hands away. I have to pee, but I'm afraid that any of the eager faces all might follow me.
Oh my God. Is she going to get proposed to?
This poor girl, this is so much pressure. She's got pressure from her mom. She's got pressure from this guy and the entire staff of this restaurant.
Creepy. He asks about cars. I'm not a car person, nor impressed about them, but Honda had just started testing a hydrogen gas vehicle, and I was actually excited about it. I used it to fill time. He sat there smiling and said how much he'd like to buy his future wife any car she'd like as a wedding gift.
If
You
you
know
say,
what? I would have
if you
to
say
stop him.
future wife one more time.
Precisely. Yeah. Yeah. And I would really need to stop him and be like, why are you talking about another woman on this date?
Right.
Because I know you're not talking about me.
Truly. I know you were talking about
I don't know
me.
who you're talking about, but I would like you to stop bringing her up.
Yeah. We are strangers, my guy. So
I don't know you. I'm so uncomfortable and want to bolt, but I'm thinking that the food is here and escape is just around the corner. I ask about his hobbies again, and he keeps making certain that I always have small bites in my mouth to avoid answering more of his weird questions. He proceeds to describe his gym workout. I couldn't care less, but at least he was not being weird. The manager again tries to fill my glass, and I decline because I plan to bolt as soon as I pay the bill. And this was already too weird without any more added to it. He finally appears to be done eating, 10 minutes left. And before I can decline, he asks for cheesecake for 2. And then asks me how I feel about children. I feel like I'm the subject of some horrible not joke, and I just want to run. I can feel tears of discomfort behind my eyes, but being polite was still so ingrained in me in my early 20s, and I said I wasn't ready now, but I might someday. Cheesecake arrives. He reaches across and grabs my wrist while grinning. I look around for any of the watchers to realize I'm extremely uncomfortable.
The watchers.
And then he says, you're not prepared for this.
No,
I'm dying from cancer, and I'd like to marry and have my wife impregnated before I die. I have money to provide, but I want my legacy carried. And even if I impregnated you tonight, I might not be alive to see our child born, but you'd be provided for. And shoved cheesecake in his mouth, opened with shock.
This is grounds to get up silently and walk out.
I am
no other words
smacked.
Needed.
I told you weren't prepared.
Am gobsmacked. First of all, I'm so sad for him. Like, that's tragic. That explains why like the restaurant was so invested and stuff in this. So, like, but I'm still like
Listen,
wait for it.
I
I
have empathy. I can have empathy for this person, but what I will say here is it is not fair. Even if you were in a relationship with someone,
it's a lot of pressure to put on somebody.
Unless it is a conversation that the two of you have had and agreed on and fully want. Saying,
could you be a single mom for me?
100% for my legacy, because I want my name to live on. Can you go through this extremely difficult, painful thing completely on your own?
But wait for it, guys. I was slapping free hand for a server. I never do that, but all I wanted to do was leave, and I couldn't get my left hand out of his meat paw and made the comment, "You seem so healthy, so I think you have more time," to which he replied, "They're doing electrolysis treatment, but there's no guarantee." I finally get loose, throw down money, and he tries to hand it back to me in chase, and I start practically running out as his coworkers. In hindsight, I'm sure they thought we were dating and he was popping the question. They're all waving in my rear view as I go immediately to my parents' office and grab the candy dish, throw candy, and tell them never to set me up again. I run to the restroom, call my friends to go meet, play pool, and have drinks, and tell them all about my horrifying date. I paid to block 2 numbers, early 2000s. Paid to block numbers. I convinced myself it was all a horrible joke and move on. I received a call from an unfamiliar number, and it's this stupid nutter. I go off about electrolysis not being a treatment for cancer. Horrifying me, mention of impregnating me on a first date, his creepy coworkers, and then I think he's an effed up liar, and then pay to block that number too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
2 days later, he calls me again, yet from another phone number, and tells me how much he'd love to have a feisty and intelligent wife because I'd be perfect for their children.
No.
Well, for 6 months, he kept it up. In hindsight, I should have had a restraining order, but in 2002, they weren't exactly awesome about stalking and harassment. Not that they are now. But after 6 months of all his crap calling from me from various cell phones, and he'd called yet again, sobbing and begging, I screamed, "This is awful. I shouldn't laugh. I don't even know if I should say this. I screamed that he should be dead by now. I never heard from him again. My idiot mom never tried to fix me up."
It's only funny because we know he wasn't really sick.
Obviously.
Obviously.
It's so fucked up.
But listen, he's really putting her through hell.
He's
God,
really
putting her through hell.
Dude,
And also,
I am struggling not to consider that as the title for this.
You should be dead by now.
Oh my
Oh
Oh my God. I wish I could think of spicy things like that to say at the right moment. God damn.
You know, she'd probably thought it on multiple occasions when her phone rang
And
yet
she's
again.
like, I can't.
On like month
It's
4
too
or
brutal.
5, you know. But
Like
mom
paralysis
definitely,
treatment.
yeah. What?
Come on.
Mom definitely has her, like, you know, she's no longer allowed to make matches.
No,
ever.
she was like,
ever,
she's
ever.
like, I'm not going to do that again. I promise.
Lord.
Oh my goodness.
You should be dead by now. It's so fucked
Oh
up.
God.
Oh no.
You guys want to take 5 and then we'll come back with the Tainted Love?
Yes, please.
Yes. And we're back. Christina, tell us a story.
I am actually really stoked to tell you guys this story. I had never heard it before, and I don't think you guys have either, but it has everything. It has wealthy oil barons. It has chocolate eclairs. It has $100,000 music rooms, lots of twists,
eclairs.
turns. It has petri dishes. So
Wow.
yeah,
Okay.
we're going all over the place.
Okay.
I am going to tell you guys the story of the Texas mansion murders. Okay.
You know, I had a feeling it was Texas. Texas is always extra. It's always extra. Every time it's like, this story has everything. And you did say oil baron, so that should have been a big flag.
It's true. Yeah.
So Joan Robinson was born in February of 1931. She was adopted by wealthy oilman Ash Robinson and his wife, so their only child, and they doted on her. She had horses. She was beautiful, blonde, and she was like actually became this very talented equestrian. She ends up like getting approached by an MGM talent scout because she's like that beautiful, but Ash is like, nope, I don't want you Hollywood types corrupting my only daughter, whatever. So she goes all in. She's winning like in 500 competitions. She got first or second in like all of them. So she is very, very respected in society, and she's a respected athlete. But she's like kind of tired of being under daddy's thumb. And so by the time she's 20, she's already been twice married and twice divorced.
Oh my God.
Oh,
They've only her marriages have only lasted like a few months. Her father hasn't approved,
I would think.
that kind of thing. So by the time she's done with that, in 1957, she goes to a party and she meets John Hill. And John Hill is not very known in society. I ended up watching this show on Apple TV called Texas True Crime. And so this episode is season 3, episode 3. And this woman is 93 years old, is interviewed on it. And she's like,
I bet she's amazing.
She is a high society maven.
Fascinating.
Over there.
I hear her voice. I hear the accent.
She goes, he was handsome, but not very interesting. So once you got done looking at him, you just didn't really want to hang around anymore. So
man, I've met people like that.
Mm-hmm. And John Hill is giving like young FDR energy.
Okay.
Like that's what he looks like. He's very tall. He's very handsome.
Wait,
but
FDR?
like young
Franklin
FDR.
Delano. Okay,
Yeah.
I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
I've been watching or I've been listening to the episodes on the Kennedys, and I was like, did she just mix up the letters? Okay, yes, I got it. Nope, never mind. Carry on.
Not RFK.
Got it. So he wants to become a doctor, and at the time, in Texas, in Houston, there were a lot of cardiac surgeons, like just because they had developed this new technique. So he's like, I don't want to become a cardiac surgeon. Like, what is something
The market
that
is
no one
flooded.
else? The market is flooded.
It's just
So I'm going to become a plastic surgeon because there's only 10 of those motherfuckers around.
Smart.
Ash is like, you know what? I think this dude marry a doctor. I approve. I actually approve of this. So they end up getting married very shortly after meeting. And, they interview again the woman who happened to be good friends with Joan, who was like, they were just really mismatched because Joan's just really outgoing, happy, beautiful, bubbly. And John's just kind of like a lump, a handsome lump, but just a lump. He's
handsome lump.
not an interesting person.
But you know what? I've seen enough episodes of Real Housewives to know that is common. So many of the husbands on Real Housewives are like,
oh my God,
so boring. Most boring people you've ever seen.
except for you're on that first season of New York Housewives.
I just started season 2, and Alex and her husband Simon. Wow.
Yikes.
What a pair. I've never seen a husband on Real Housewives so often. Like, they go to his confessionals all the time, and I'm like, is he a housewife? Should he be holding an apple right now? What's happening?
Yes, he should.
So he doesn't have any money yet, obviously, because he's not a doctor. He's going to school. So Ash is like, you know what? Like, let me take care of things. So for the first 6 years of their marriage, they actually live in Ash's house. But they're separate so much because he's in school, residency, all that stuff. And she and her horse, beloved Belinda, are off winning like every single horse thing. I don't know, horse races, whatever you do with that.
Beloved Belinda.
So
we're so aggressively middle class. We're like, I don't know, horse stuff.
Horse stuff.
Anyway.
I don't know. Stuff you do with horses. Anyways, so yeah, they're not really around each other that much for the first 6 years, but they are around each other enough to have a son, Robert, or they call him Boot, which I think is so cute. He goes by Boot.
Actually is really cute.
His name's Boot.
Cute.
So they have Boot, and then Joan's like, yeah, I don't want to do that again. That sucked. So Boot is their only kid.
Relatable.
And in the meantime, like, Ash is like, okay, like, you're a young family. You've been here for a while. Now he's out of school and is actually a plastic surgeon, despite the fact that he's not actually really good at it. He somehow ends up becoming like a plastic surgeon. So he's like, you know what? I'm going to put a down payment for a house. It gives him like $80,000, which in that time,
a lot of money
like,
in that time.
A lot of money.
The 60s or something. Yeah.
Early 60s.
Wow.
So they buy this huge mansion, and then John, who has this huge love of music, proceeds to spend $100,000 on a music room, and like he spends.
Listen,
yeah.
If I'm the father-in-law, I'm like, if you had $100,000 for a music room, you had $100,000 for your own goddamn down payment.
That's
okay,
right.
Seriously.
Yeah.
And that's what he does. He goes to work, and then he works on the music room. And he's like obsessed with like the marble flooring and like this special piano and like 4 miles of wiring for all these fancy speakers and everything. It's like becoming a thing. Meanwhile, Joan is like, okay, like fuck your music room. Like you have a family. And then he
also,
starts.
as a doctor, how do you have this kind of time?
Right.
It's like you're a doctor, and presumably you have responsibilities as a husband and father. How do you have this kind of time to work on your music room?
Yeah, it's this ballroom-sized room with double-height ceiling full of Renaissance frescoes and baccarat crystal chandeliers. It's just
You know how expensive? I would love to see a baccarat crystal chandelier on Antiques Roadshow.
Yeah.
I want to know how much that costs because that shit is expensive.
Chandeliers.
So yeah, their house just becomes like this renowned mansion because this music room is just like kind of one of the best music rooms of all time, right? So, but he spends so much time doing that they have grown apart. And one time picking up his son at summer camp in 1968, he ends up meeting a beautiful brunette. So kind of like if you hold the pictures side by side, Joan's opposite in looks, at least equal, like in beauty, but it's like brunette. Her name's Anne Kurth, and they start a torrid affair. So
of course they do.
Yeah. Now, the problem is that this doctor doesn't really have money. He was able to spend $100,000 on this music room by getting a bank loan. So he owes the bank that
bank
money.
Is approving this? Who at the bank was like, yeah, we can go in on this for you. Like, why? Don't you have to like
put up
to get
collateral?
a loan? Don't you have to like justify it to the bank?
He did. He was a white man. So.
Yeah. He's like, I kind of just need money.
I asked too many questions. You're right.
Yeah.
It's Texas in the 1960s, and he is a white doctor. Got it.
Yeah. So Anne has had 3 divorces and 3 kids. She's very beautiful, but she's a little volatile. And she wants that doctor. And so she gets him, and he files for divorce from Joan. Joan is heartbroken and goes to her dad. And her dad
but her dad is pissed.
Absolutely furious. And so he calls the doctor in, and he's like, if you move forward with this, I'm going to move forward with asking you to repay my money, you son of a bitch. And here's a letter that I drew up to reconcile with my daughter, and you can sign it, and you can leave Anne and move back in with Joan, or you can start repaying my fucking money, pretty much. So, of course, he signs it, and he moves back in with Joan. But he's not done messing with Anne on the side.
No, that didn't cure it. I'm so surprised.
So, yeah, after he steps in, things are like he has moved back in, but friends notice that Joan and John are still arguing quite a bit. He's still going off at night and staying over at Anne's place.
I mean, that's the thing. I'm all for dad wanting to go after this guy. However, making the ultimatum, you have to be back together with my daughter is not the thing.
Yeah,
like that's not the thing to do. And I understand heartbreak. I know how difficult it is, but don't go chasing anybody who doesn't want to be with you.
Amen.
Because like you're just going to end up in a really just because you're physically together in your house it's not going to solve your problems.
Yeah,
can't make somebody love you.
They end up having friends stay with them for a week, and the friends who are interviewed later are like, yeah, it was just like really tense. They were being like very passive aggressive with each other, and John would bring eclairs every day, but he would distribute them, like who got to eat what eclair.
It's weird,
which we thought was weird and
John,
strange.
That's weird, John. I don't like that.
So towards the end of the week, Joan starts feeling ill, and she takes to bed. And when her friends finally leave, like a day and a half later, they're like, "Are you going to be okay?" She's like, I really, really don't feel good, but I'm fine."
If you're going to start poisoning your wife, why would you do it when other people are present?
Right. Right. And so then on March 18th, the maid comes in and notices that Joan is like not okay. She has soiled the bed. She is like incoherent, that kind of thing. So she gets John, and John's just kind of like at the foot of the bed. And he's like kind of dragging his feet. and she's like, you need to take her to the hospital. So he's like, okay. And instead of taking her to the hospital that was nearby, which is Texas General, that had an ER, and he drives 45 minutes away to a small regional hospital where they're like, we don't know what's wrong, but her kidneys are failing. Like, her blood pressure was 60/40, which is dangerously low. And eventually at 2:30 a.m. on March 19th, she is pronounced dead. So the doctor for her there was like, she was only 38. She had no illness that we know of. Like, we need to do an autopsy on her. And John's like, yeah, I bet. I called the funeral home, and they've already got her body and they've embalmed it. So they do the autopsy, but they're not able to do any blood samples or anything like that because she's already been embalmed. So Ash is like,
wow.
Knock, knock, knock on the district attorney's office. And he's like, yeah, you know all those donations I've given you? This motherfucker murdered my daughter.
How did he think this was going to play out?
Sir, exactly.
Truly.
Did you think he was going to be like, oh, yeah, no, that's fine. You're right. She
Right.
just
I mean,
died.
and
What?
whenever you do all this stuff, like driving to the other hospital, you don't think you're going to have to answer for that? You think everybody's just going to be like, yeah, that makes perfect sense that you would do that.
Yeah.
Like you're making yourself look suspicious for sure.
Soup suspicious. Now, so Ash is like, the DA's like, great. Okay. What are the results of this autopsy? And he's like, well, they can't find a legitimate cause of death. Like, her pancreas was like a little weird. So maybe shrugs emoji pancreatitis. So they exhume her body and do a second autopsy. And then they're like, wait, where's her brain? Why has her brain been removed? And the original doctor that did the first autopsy was like, oh, shoot, I accidentally left it in my car trunk. So he goes and gets her brain.
Sorry, what? Wait, what?
I know.
Wait, what?
So, I mean,
I've just been driving around town with a brain in my trunk.
boop, boop, boop,
What?
boop, boop.
Running
Yep.
errands, picking up the kids from soccer practice.
So they relocate her brain and do a second autopsy, and they're still like, maybe like it was some kind of infection or something that killed her. Like, we don't know. They end up hiring, the DA ends up hiring somebody else to do a third autopsy on her, and there's still nothing conclusive. So Ash is not taking this lying down. He is conducting interviews. He is compiling evidence. He is presenting these to the DA, and DA's finally like, okay, here's all I can charge John Hill with. I've scoured the law books. Because we don't really have a concrete cause of death, we can charge him with murder by omission, which is basically like he drug his feet on getting help for her and therefore has caused her death. He's the first person in Texas to be charged on this.
Interesting. I've never even heard of that.
Yeah. So they go to like 3 different grand juries until they finally have enough to take him to trial. So by this time, he has married Ann Kurth and divorced her a few months later.
Of
and
course.
Oh, I
now
hope it was worth it.
Now he's married to some woman named Connie. And so him and Connie are out at a like medical conference. They come home, and this is like in 1969. They come home from this conference. He's walking up to his front door when he gets confronted by a shooter, and the shooter shoots him 3 times, shot dead. The shooter had broken in and had tied up his son and his mother, and basically said, this is a robbery. I mean business. And as soon as he shot John, he bolts. He leaves the gun in the bushes. So police are like, okay, amazing. We've got this evidence. We've got the gun. Right. John is dead. So everyone's like, yeah, this looks professional. This doesn't look like a robbery. Someone's not going to come in and tie up the kid, the mother, and like do all this stuff. And then, okay, yeah, you did shoot John, but then what? You didn't take anything. You didn't do anything. So it looks like this is a hit on John.
Right.
So they trace the gun back to another doctor who's like, yeah, no, that gun was stolen from me by a sex worker. So they're like, okay.
Okay.
They find the sex worker and she's like, yeah, I stole that gun and I was being paid by Ash Robinson and the madam, Lilla. Lilla paid me and then I paid the shooter, Bobby Vandiver. And so they're like, okay, great. Murder for hire. Let's go. While they're waiting for trial, Bobby tries to escape and he goes to another part of Texas, is living under an alias and gets in a shootout with a cop, shot dead. So now the madam, Lilla, who supposedly set this up, is not snitching at all. She's like, I don't know what you're talking about. Nope, I never received any money at all from Ash Robinson. I'm not guilty. I don't know why she's trying to pin this on me. Nothing. So they don't have corroborating evidence anymore that Ash Robinson was behind this hit, and with Bobby dead. And so they go to trial for Lilla. She's found guilty and gets 35 years in prison. She still never speaks up about it. The other sex worker who stole the gun gets 10 years. Ash ends up going to a civil trial from Connie, wife number 3 for him. And she's like trying to say that he did it. That gets thrown out. Ash never says he did it. None of that. Now, come to find out, this case was so big. It was huge in Texas at the time. So CBS in 1980 takes another look at Joan Hill's murder case and that kind of thing. Because it had gone, John Hill had ended up going to a trial, but Ann Kurth had testified against him, saying like he poisoned the eclairs. He used petri dishes in my house to grow the bacteria and inject them into the pastries. Ugh. And then he also tried to kill me, but because she had never told that story before, it ends up in a mistrial. So like they were going to try John again before he was killed. So CBS is like, we're going to get to the bottom of this because now it's 1980 and we have more forensic knowledge. They think Joan Hill died of toxic shock syndrome.
Oh, no. Oh, that's awful.
So this whole thing, they're pretty sure she died of TSS. There was no crime to begin with at all. And all the people connected with it. All the animosity, the entire family, like the whole thing. And it was just TSS probably. And that is the Texas Mansion murders.
Wow.
Whoa.
Isn't that bananas?
The turns. Yes.
That's insane.
I've never heard of that story.
I know.
That's wild.
That's the thing is like whenever you said this was huge in Texas at the time, I feel like we've told quite a few stories in Texas at this time period. Like I remember I told one too, the Cullen murder as well. It was around this same time. Also had to do with like oil people in mansions.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I feel like maybe there was, everybody talks about crime in New York in like the 80s and 90s. I feel like maybe there was like a rich crime situation happening in Texas in the 60s and 70s.
I mean, there was a whole show about it, right? Dallas.
Yeah, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh man. No, I found a Medium article that I was like, oh, I've never heard of this before. What a weird case.
Medium is so good for that.
Yeah. Then when I dug in, there's tons and tons of articles about it. In fact, there's like a whole book. It's called Blood and Money. There was a movie starring Farrah Fawcett as Joan Robinson Hill.
Of course it starred Farrah Fawcett.
Sam Elliott is in it too.
Oh, amazing. Of course.
Sam Elliott, I feel like,
right.
underrated hot old guy. Sam Elliott.
Is he underrated? I feel like everybody thinks that.
Well, I think everybody thinks it. I don't think we talk about it enough. We've done several Old Spices, and we've never done him for an FMK.
Yeah,
Should throw him in the mix.
Yeah.
I don't think so.
Yeah. Well, what are you guys watching this week?
Well, I took myself on a date yesterday.
Nice.
To go see Long Legs.
How is it?
I loved it. I was a little I was honestly kind of nervous because I watch a lot of horror movies. There's not a lot that like really upsets me, but people were saying like, oh, I had to leave the theater, or like I was watching TikToks of how upset people were at the end of that movie. I didn't find it that scary. Like it's definitely not something that I would say is scary. It's dark.
So I should watch it.
It's very dark. I don't know if you would like it, Cassie. It is very, very dark. It's unsettling. Nicolas Cage. Wow. One of the best. Truly, like it's gonna go up there with like Buffalo Bill in terms of like horror performance.
Ooh, now you're making me want to watch it.
As a character, he's unhinged in like the best way. I thought that it was great. Now, it definitely has Silence of the Lambs vibes, but and I'm not going to give anything away, but there's a twist to it that I think is going to be polarizing for people. So I'll just say that and leave it at that. But I really enjoyed it. I liked it a lot.
Interesting.
Right.
Interesting. I have been watching Elementary. We started watching that. I don't know if I said that last week.
No, I don't think so.
Yeah, we got like, you know how we do, like get our nighttime show.
Yep.
That's kind of what we've gone to. We were watching Bones, and honestly, that thing jumps the shark. It's so it's so random, that show. So yeah. So we switched over. Now we're on Elementary, which is good. Never seen it, so
Right on. Yeah, we're still on the Game of Thrones kick. Speaking of jumping the shark, we're now like, the
most disappointing thing ever.
Yeah, we're now at we just started season 7. So
is your heart breaking all over again?
Yeah, it truly is, because I do think that season 6 had some good moments, but it's really when it starts to
fall apart.
And just like, it's such a bummer. It just makes you mad because you're like, God, Danny is such a cool character, and
they're not doing anything.
Yeah. It's just
they're doing something, but it's upsetting.
It's a choice. It is a choice. So
decisions were made. It's
but yeah. So, well, if you guys have something that we should watch, if you have a terrible date story, if you want to just reach out and say hello, go to our one-stop shop of a website. It's myworstdatepodcast.com. And we love you so much.
Cheers.